Hey guys, welcome back to Get Motivated and Fit TV. If you're new to the channel, the concept behind Get Motivated is to get more out of life. So this week alone, man, I've gotten an overwhelming response. I've been getting the notifications with my views going up, and and I get it, right? I mean, I'm doing this to honor, the fellow correctional officers, but as well as those that have passed away in service, right? Being attacked. Um, Now I'm sure y'all seen my day two video, with OJT, and I went ahead and just turned off the comments completely because there was this one individual, he made a comment, and I get it, right? Everyone's entitled to your own opinion. Everyone's entitled to speak your mind. But at the end, it just didn't sit well with me because it's like, come on, like if you saw the whole video with OJT, I did my best to paint that picture, tell y'all my story of the time that I stepped foot for the first time at a maximum prison, first day, first week of OJT. So it's like, yeah, the fact that this individual said you're soft, it's like, I get it, right? Because from one officer to another, like, I get that, right? Like, you don't want to be known as officer friendly. You don't want to be known as, soft. I get that, I do. But come on, like, how are you going to say that about me when I'm telling y'all my story about OJT? I mean, that was just, on day two. I mean, y'all were there too the first time, stepping inside a maximum prison, walking in through that gate. I'm sure y'all can relate those feelings, the nerves, the anxiousness, the fear, right? Because like as I mentioned, it takes a certain individual to walk inside that fence and deal with all walks of life, so to speak, from the murderers, the drug dealers, the chesters. I mean, everything that you can think of is inside that prison, and we have to protect the community. We have to be there and serve the community by going in day in and day out. So the fact that that individual said, "Oh, you're soft," it didn't sit well with me because, again, man, like I'm telling y'all my story, taking y'all back in time, back to 12 years ago in 2012. I mean, of course it's gonna happen, right? But I just went ahead and I just disabled the comments for all these videos. I mean, I've been getting an overwhelming response. The views are going up like crazy, spreading like wildfire. I appreciate y'all stopping by the channel. I really do. Um, but like I said, it's just my experience. I'm still gonna get to the last video and in honor of the past correctional officers that have passed away in service, because I'm sure y'all heard the stories. I'm sure y'all know someone who, unfortunately, they were the victim, right? They were at the wrong place, wrong time, that type of thing. So, I just want to go ahead and make it clear, my channel, Get Motivated and Fit TV, it's a lifestyle, right? It's something that I came up with the concept. There's so many times that when I get to the gym, I don't want to go. Like, I wake up like, damn, I don't want to go. So I had to tell myself, I needed that reminder, get motivated. Like, I have to go, right? And then, of course, as I always mention in my intro, getting the whole concept is to get more out of life. And again, right, I've said it in my other videos, but I'm just going to go ahead and tell y'all here, it's, you want to better yourself mentally, you want to better yourself spiritually, financially, physically, emotionally. That's the whole concept of getting more out of life, right? We don't want to just be content with where we're at. At least that's just the way I see it. And if you are, then by all means, great. You know, but that's the whole concept. But again, just for this week and this week alone, I wanted to honor, you know, correctional officers, right? Because at one point in time, I was a correctional officer. So I know what it's like to go inside that fence. I know what it's like to walk down that walkway and all these thoughts are going through your mind, right? And then being out in the pot, being out there in the day room, being out there during mass movement. I get all that. So if you've seen all the videos up until now, this is where I talk about um, how I knew when it was time for me to promote for sergeant, right? And I've at that point I learned my style. I learned how to deal with the offenders. I learned how to. Sometimes you do have to step up to them. Hey, put your fucking shirt on. After you told them, hey, put your shirt on, and they still don't listen. Or they're up on 2 row, 3 row. Hey, get off the run. Like I knew how to run my day room, and it took when I was when I was desk officer, I knew who were my officers that were top notch, and then I knew those that were officer friendly. Am I gonna say that to them? No. So there was this point in time where that officer, he came out. Hey, wash the desk for me. I wanna stretch my legs. I'll do your round. They were having day room. So I'm not gonna mention the name. And so he washed the desk for me, and I went out there. As soon as I stepped foot through that side port, all those offenders were getting in check. They knew I set that expectation. They knew that I didn't mess around. In an instant, they'll catch a case. They'll go back to the house, because again, I figured out my style. And of course, a lot had to do with that one officer who became a lieutenant. He's the one that molded me. Like for real. He's the one that told me this is how you're gonna do it. It's gonna make your whole life a lot easier. And I said it before, all it takes is like, hey, one way in, stand in front of your door. Boom, open just those doors. One way out, stand in front of your door. If they're not right there at that door, walk on by. It sounds harsh, but hey, makes your job a whole lot easier. When it comes to rack up, that's on me. Open 4 doors at a time. Rack up, go to the house, stand in front of your door. Open once the picket officer opens those doors. If they're not walking in, boom, close them. Whoever's still out, hey, let me see your ID. By then, you should already know. Looking at their face, matching their name, where they stay at, right? All right, and then give them a case. 24.0, 27.0. Failure to obey order, out of place, right? So I started learning my style. So again, right, that was one. I did my round, and everybody started getting in check. They started getting off the runs. They started putting on their shirts in the day room. And again, right, like, and I've learned that if you're the officer on that pod, the way your pod looks is a reflection on you, right? That's the way I've always seen it. So when and what I did, instead of just doing that pod, I switched out with K and L pod. I wanted to let my officers know too. Just because I'm at the desk doesn't mean that that's all I'm gonna do. Like, that was just me. I didn't have to do it. So then, and at the same time, I didn't want this officer to think that I was just, singling him out. So I went to K-Pot, and of course, right, I already knew my officer in K-Pot was top notch, and they were on point, right? And L-Pod, did the round over there. I mean, for the most part, everybody's quiet, everybody's just asleep, whatever, because they're the G5s. But that's when I knew, when like, it was just like damn, like these offenders, like it's not even my pod, and it's like I'm going over there just to do a round, and they're getting in check, like man. And then of course, right, I had to talk with my shift captain, and it was just us two, and I asked him, I was like, so what do you think? Like, I mean, I've already, I feel like I've worked my way up. I feel like I'm ready to take it to that next step. Do you think I'm ready for sergeant? And he did tell me, he's like, it's gonna be more responsibility. Now it's gonna be on you whether you make that right call or that wrong call. But if you're willing to take on that responsibility, because yeah, I say you're ready. And and remember, he goes, now, he goes, and I'll never forget, he's like, you being a building sergeant, he goes, your officers, their life is in your hands. He goes, so, be ready if shit pops off, be ready to be there, on the front line. I'm like, of course, right? So, of course, I prayed about it, and I put in for it. I didn't think I was gonna, get it, and I got it. And I think there was 3 openings, and I was one, right? So, once I promoted, went up to Huntsville for the training academy, and met other fellow officers that promoted as well from other units, and then coming back, I remember I remember I was put on night shift coming back, and I was gone, man, I think a week, maybe a week and a half for training academy. I think it was just a week. I'm coming back, and already walking down, since I was on nights, they had me out there in the dorms. First time being out there in the dorms. Like, what the heck's out here, right? Like, and walking down the walkway, going down through the, I think the walkway, the way it was set up, I think it was 7 building that was over here, and I can already hear them talking their shit. Hey, blah, blah, blah. And like, what, keep talking sexy. Just not even paying no mind. So I get down there to the dorms, and I introduce myself to the officers there. I mean, again, right, I'm on night shift, so everybody's new to me. So I'm like, my thought process is like, hey guys, like, I know what y'all are supposed to do. I expect that. But if y'all need, anything, I'm here. I don't mind, getting my hands dirty. I don't mind putting in the work. But man, like, being out there in the dorms, I couldn't do it. It was just too boring. And that one too, it's just like, I mean, it's open floor, bunks, and you just got that eerie feeling just, doing your round, and having to look over your shoulder, like, literally, because it's as you're walking by, each time you're passing by a bunk, each time you're passing an offender, and you just don't know it. And even though they're on good behavior, anytime they can just, snap and attack, and yeah. So, and then when I say boring, like, I mean, like, there's not much to do. Like, there's no reason to do an in and out. There's no reason to do I mean, yeah, maybe a channel check, but I mean, if you're on nights, it's already, lights out. So all it is just doing the rounds, the bunk searches, and of course, if there's any incidents, passing out breakfast. That's pretty much it. I did get put on days, and and even, right, like, even after doing my time at the dorms on nights, I did get put on 7 building, and I mean, and it's a completely different ball game being on days versus being on nights as a supervisor. Being on nights, you only report to your shift captain. Being on days, man, you have the 3 wardens, you have both majors, you have, like, I don't know, 2-3 captains, your lieutenants. So it's like everybody, like, it just felt like so much more stressful, right? But I mean, yeah, I mean, things did pop off being on nights, responding to some calls, refusing to go to the house, having to suit up a 5-man team, starting a fire, out in the day, outside their cell door. But when I got put on days, even though I was on A side, we went through different wardens, and that's when things started changing. And this one particular warden, she, um, I had to make sure before the offenders left the building. At that time, everybody had to be clean shaven. There was no religious beard passes. Everybody had to be clean shaven completely. So I would look at all the offenders, make sure that they were good to go, shirts tucked in, collars fixed, pants at their waist, um, and yeah, like for me, what was clean shaven wasn't clean shaven for that warden. I don't know how many times putting me on blast on the radio, and it got annoying, it got frustrating. And I remember my lieutenant reaching out and was like, "Don't worry, that's just how she is. Like, all she has to do is call you, right? But she has to put your business out. Like, I don't know what she's trying to prove, but just, like, send them back. And like, what do you want me to do? Like, send them back." And I would look at them like, what the fuck is she talking about? Like, they're clean shaven. But I mean, I don't know. Like, like that wording was just something else. And and just the stress that came with it, just making sure your building, everything was done within your time frame. And and then of course, right, like how the captain said, like at that point, like it's a bigger responsibility. I mean, you're in charge of the lockup, you're in charge of, you know delegating, right? And sometimes it's like, if you have that mindset, like, you know what, I'll just do it myself so I can get it done, that's what's gonna happen. But whenever we were short staff and it was time to pass out Johnny's, like, I got my hands dirty too. Like, hey, let's go. I'll go with the rover. Of course, at that point, like, hey, you take 3 row, right? But I mean, that was me. Like, I didn't mind, putting in work like that. Having to respond to, hey, I have a jack slot. All right, well, let's go. And having to hear the problem, seeing what I can do, learning to communicate to these offenders. And the one thing, and anybody can relate, whether an ex-offender is watching this, fellow officer, the only thing that we have in that prison from both sides, from the officers and the offenders, is our word, right? That's the one thing that we have. Once that word doesn't go follow through, it looks bad on both ends, right? It does, or on either side. So, I mean, I had to learn quick. I had to learn to, if it was a plumbing issue, all right, well, give me some time. Let me get the call out plumber. And I had to be on top of it, right? I had to. And I would see for myself, whether it was like, hey man, the toilet won't flush, or the toilet won't stop flushing. I get it, it can get annoying. But when it doesn't flush, clearly it's like, I'll ask them, well, what did y'all put in there? Like, I mean, it's not flushing for a reason. Like, what did y'all put in there? Like, be straight up with me. Nah, nothing. Don't be wasting my time. If the plumber comes in here and it's a shirt, we're gonna have some problems. What's those kind of things? Like, nah, it wasn't like that. Like, whatever, right? And then, of course, another one, they would jack the slot because they were promised an extra Johnny. Not from us, but from night shift. Like, damn, like, really? Like, that's on night shift. Like, dude, we act that way with them. Why with us? That kind of thing. Let me see. Okay, so now let's do the at SEG. First time stepping foot inside SEG was as me being a sergeant. I didn't know what to expect, and it was kind of like the stuff that I learned from GP, the stuff that I learned from there. It was like SEG is ran totally different, and it's like I'm trying to make these changes. Even the officers there were like, dude, like, that's not gonna work because that's not how we run it here. We want the peace, and I had to learn. The stuff that I did in general population, that shit wasn't gonna fly in SEG. And what I mean by that, this one offender was causing problems in SEG. Okay, well, if you're not gonna follow the orders, we're not gonna feed you. The feeding procedures. He didn't follow through. You know, I made the call, don't feed him. And next time around, I'm doing my security check. You know, he dashes at me. He threw water. I'm like, damn, that was that was on me. And the first time I ever getting dashed. You know, but I learned that SEG is ran totally different. And even though I was on nights in SEG, and we still had, we had jacking the slot. We had this one offender. I'm not sure if I should mention his name, but I mean he has a rep for being the most violent offender in the state towards us officers, right? Numerous of staff assaults, numerous of him being able to slip out of the handcuffs. So this particular, it was always like, it was by policy that the unit plays to do a cell search around the clock on this offender. So we had to suit up a 5-man team, and we had to every day, every shift, strip them out, put them in hand restraints, escort them out, do the cell search. And in SEG, they don't really have much, but still, like, we had to do day in and day out because of his behavior. So as I mentioned, in SEG, you have level 1, level 2, and level 3. Level 3, anytime they come out, they have to be with a video camera recording at all times, and record them from the moment they get out of the cell to wherever they're going and then back. And it's just because in the event anything happens, we already have the video. If we have to initiate ICS, it's already there, right? So I think the first time that I initiated ICS was I want to say everything that I ran was with that one offender. He was refusing to relinquish the tray slot. He obstructed it, and before I get into that, so I learned too, being in SEG, even though I was a sergeant, the way SEG was ran was I was learning how to be a lieutenant. I was doing the lieutenant's work, and the lieutenant was doing what the captain would do there in SEG. So, it was a lot more at that time too. It was a lot more paperwork, a lot more, like I said, right, if there's an ICS involved there and I respond, I just don't have to do the witness statement, but I also have to type out the report of everything that happened, right? Who was involved, all the officers, and just basically put that, into one, doing a training, doing the count. I remember there was some kind of spreadsheet that I had to put in, and it was all for like I think the meals, like what we passed out for lunch or for breakfast. There was some other stuff. So yeah, so the first time I did the ICS, it was with that individual. He didn't want to give up the slot, so we went ahead and I'll never forget, it was Christmas Eve, so Christmas morning. I'm like, man, like, right, so much for, we're already working nights, but it was so much of like wanting to get out, on time, because now it's like we gotta do paperwork, right? And yeah, he didn't want to give up the slot, so captain got the authorization to suit up a 5-man team. We got the 5-man team assembled, and from there, I mean, having to start the process, right? Having to, introduce myself on camera, having to give the offender, 2 verbal orders, or 3, I should say, and go back on the camera, letting them know what's going on, and then finally administer chemical agents, wait to see if that takes effect. And this dude, man, he ate that up, he did. So finally, We go ahead and roll that door. You know, my team runs in, and I'm going right behind them, and I'm still like, shh. And right in the face too, right in the face. And this dude's not giving up. Going back to that video, we actually see him, you know, striking at one of my officers, and one of my officers got cut right here, got nicked on the arm. And like, yeah, like once I saw that, I remember telling him, like, hey, watch out, and I sprayed him again. You know, like the whole purpose was like, dude, we need you down, we need to put you in hand restraints, but this dude was not budging. He was eating up the chemical agents. And finally, right, they were able to get him on his stomach, put him in the hand restraints and the leg restraints, and then we took him out, medical, you know, evaluated him right then and there. And the whole time he's bitching that all that damn gas. I'm like, hell yeah, you know, like, you know, all this could have been avoided had you just. And I think all it was too, I think either his food was cold, or no. He said that, I know y'all put something in my food. That's what it was. Like, okay, let me get you another tray. Like, we'll take care of it. And I got him the other tray, switched out that one, but yet for whatever reason something snapped. And I say something snapped because every time I would walk by, he would always tell me too, like even before the incident and way after the incident, he was always saying that I took his shirt. Like, dude, why did I need your shirt for? Right? If I tell you why this dude's in prison, yeah, he's not all there. Do I want to tell you? Yeah, I don't know. You know, I mean, but I'm sure y'all can think of, if y'all type up most violent offender in TDC, I think his name will pop up. But you know, that was one. The others that I responded, it was staff assaults, and that's where I talk about that. I wish the mindset that I have now, I wish I had that then, because when I would respond, I was doing no good to anybody because I'm just there trying to catch my breath. You know, so it's very important, right? If you're in the prison, you know, work out, you know, go for a mile jog. You know, it's good to stay in shape because in the event, if you do got to respond, you're able to respond and act accordingly versus just trying to catch your breath. Because even then, like, you got to give commands, you got to give orders, and you can't if you're trying to catch your breath, right? And of course, you know, you had those few that just refuse to go back to the house. And again, right, it's a process that we have to do. You know, gotta, you know, get authorization, suit up a 5-man team, administer chemical agents. And sometimes we had to get 2 teams. You know, we had to get one team that was going to go through 2 section on 3 row, then the other one going through the day room, and, you know, try to, you know, corner him in. And yeah, I mean, it's, you know, fun times, right? The stuff that, and of course the others, you know, when these offenders start the fires for whatever reason, after a while, I mean, we got to put out the fire, right? Sometimes it wasn't like the fire was, you know, too big that a bucket of water wouldn't work. We had to actually bust out the fire hose. Trying to think the times that I got assaulted. One of them I was an officer, and then the last time I was a supervisor. So the first time that I got assaulted, I remember being on 4 building. That was the crazy part. A side, good behavior. And after everything was said and done, I mean, I think it was a catch-out move on these offenders. So I remember I was at the desk. I was an extra, and we were just there, you know, bullshitting. It was the desk officer, the sergeant, myself, and I want to say one other officer. The desk officer gets a phone call. And he gets off the phone. He was like, "All right, he'll be right there." And then he tells the sergeant, "Hey, Sergeant, something's going on, in E-Pod. Um, I think it's a staff assault." So bam, we get going. And I remember walking in through the sally port. The officer assigned to that pod, he's in the D space. He's on his back. He has one of his legs up, and the offender, he was on top of him. But once he saw us coming, he backed away. So at that point, we're like, "Oh shit!" And my mistake, and I'm gonna own it up now. My mistake was there was another offender that was here, and I think they were coming back from chow. I think, or it was it was something. But my mistake was I should have put this offender into the day room, and I just told him, stand right there, don't move. That was my fucking mistake. I do regret it. So, and I'm not ashamed to put it out here. Like, I'm not, because again, right? We have to learn from our mistakes. If I can go back in time, I would, but everything happened the way it did. So the aggressive offender, by this time, he backs up. The sergeant tells him, "Hey, submit to hand restraints." No. So he scores up. So the sergeant, he scores up too. And they start going at it. As I'm over here telling this one, "Hey, don't move." I didn't even think, like, put him in hand restraints. I didn't think about, taking him away. I didn't. My concern was just this one over here, because he's the aggressor, not this one. He's the aggressor. So as I'm about to make my way, I mean, the sergeant was holding his ground. He was like he was holding his own, but again, right, we gotta put him in hand restraints. So I'm over here about to I don't know, to try to either like bear hug this offender, or like just try to like to tackle him, pin him, something. And by the time I was trying to make my way this way, or this other offender just comes and boom. At that time, I was wearing glasses, and next thing I know, I'm on the floor. Everything's blurry, and I'm like trying to get up, and I get back, and I'm on one knee, and I'm like, "What the heck?" I try to get up again, and I'm back. I'm back on one knee. At that point, it clicks. Okay, I think I have somebody on top of me, so I reach over like this, and I just start going like 2 or 3 times. And I mean, everything happened so quick. But I just remember at that point, by that time, fucking staff responded like crazy, backup responded like crazy. And I think they had one officer that just jumped over both of us, took him down. And then I just remember, if y'all see my glasses, try not to step on them. And finally somebody, like, got him, got me gave me my glasses. And so now we have both offenders, the aggressor and the one that I thought was a non-aggressor. And I'm like, what the flip? Like, what just happened? And so yeah, I mean, after the investigation was said and done, like, yeah, I mean, there was a catch out. They both owed money, so they had to, they had to up and leave, you know. And it sucks, right? That we were caught in the middle. Could it have been handled differently? Hell yeah. Like, I should have, like, hey dude, like, let's go back to the house. But I was so eager. Oh shit, like, it's about to go down over here. Like, let's take care of this over here. And I got sucker punched, right? I got sucker punched. And then the second time, or the last time, I took my building exercise. I took them to B turnout to get the cleaning chemicals for the building. So at that point, I know there was another sergeant, and like towards more inside B turnout. So I and there was mass movement kind of. So I had my back kind of like this way, so I can see the walkway, right? So I can see what's going on. through here. And then out of nowhere, I just feel like my cuffs are right here, my radio's over here on this side, and I'm wearing a vest since I'm on B side, so my COP is right here. And I remember the offender, he approaches me, and he tried reaching for my cuffs. And but the weird thing was, like, he was smiling, and I was like, dude, like, what the heck, dude, like, get out of here, like go, go where you need to get. And again, he tried reaching for my cuffs, and at that point, I pushed him and I took a step back, and then he saw my COP right here, and he tried grabbing that. And once that happened, shit, like, it's on. And everything happened so quick that um they say that in the video that, like, he tried swinging at me. I grabbed his arm, or like the momentum, and like basically like I used his momentum. He came this way, and then like I legit, like, I picked him up and just body slammed him, like, just, it was just quick. And my radio fell, like it flew off, so I had no way to call it in. But I thank God that that sergeant was there too. So he's like, what the hell? and I was on top of him, and I'm like, turn the fuck around. So at that point, the other sergeant helped me. We turned him around, and hell yeah, I fucking drove my knee right here. I drove my knee and turn around, submit to hand restraints, give me your hands. And I sure did. At that point, fucking, that policy goes out the window. I fucking handcuffed those bitches. And I handcuffed him, double locked. And I'm like, what the fuck are you thinking? What's your problem? And at that point, the staff showed up. Backup showed up. And I remember telling the other sergeant, like, hey, those are my cuffs. Make sure you get them back. And then, of course, right, I had to go to medical. At that point, like, man, I'm like, my adrenaline. But I feel fine, at least at that moment, right? I'm like, nah, I feel good. Like, they're like, you should still go get checked out by your doctor, make sure you don't have anything internal. Like, all right. And then ever since then, my shoulder, like, it's just, something happened with the shoulder, and the process of, like, me taking them down, like, something, and it's always been something with my shoulder ever since then, right? But yeah, like, it just, it could happen to anybody. Another incident that I saw on video, and I responded to it, but by then, like, everything was contained. No, I wanted to respond, but I was in SEG, and at that time, the other sergeant, he responded. So, at that point, once he left, I had to stay in SEG, right? So, but that one, it was two females. The female rover, the female sergeant, they did a cell search, and they took away something of his. But of course, right, this offender, you're gonna be causing issues. Well, we're gonna handle it one way or another, right? So we're gonna take away the stuff that they can get. I want to say it was some kind of appliance, but either way, it was altered. I had to pick it up. He didn't like it, and in the video, like, he's like, hey, give it to me. Like, he tried taking it from the sergeant, and the sergeant, like, backed up, already pushing the officer, like, no, like, get back to go to the house. And at that point, he charged at them. So the sergeant just, sprayed, and they ran, right? Like, at that point, like, what do you do? And I think, I don't know if I would have to go back and look, but that was one. Another one, it was an officer, 4 building. He was just right there by the desk doing his paperwork. And you can see in the video too. You can see in the video where that one offender, he's pacing back and forth, like, waiting for that time. And the officer at the desk, he's just, not paying no mind, right? Like, he's not looking over his shoulder constantly. He's just doing his paperwork on the desk. He's standing up. He's standing up, but his back is this way, where the movement is, and that offender, he's like maybe a good 20 feet away, but he's just pacing back and forth, right? Just pacing back and forth. And after a couple minutes, that offender just comes and boom, right here too, knocks him out. The officer knocks him out or puts him on the ground. And at that point, the female desk officer freaks out because, I mean, like, she gets up, calls the ICS. By that time, you know, backup shows up. That got me upset because it was like, damn, like, this offender was quote unquote good behavior, and that pissed me off. So once I saw him in SIG, like, dude, don't even ask me for shit, bro. Like, I didn't even say bro. I was like, don't even ask me for shit. Like, you fucked up, you know. You know, it's one of those things that, what do you do? Like, ask yourself, what do you do when these offenders, you know, they assault one of us? Like, what do? You know, do you give them the stuff that they need, or do you let them? You know what? You can go a day or two without eating. What do you do? 3 days without eating. I mean, is it justified? Is it wrong? But again, right, you won't know unless you're inside that prison. You won't know unless, you know, you walk in our shoes or in our boots, in this sense, right? The way things get done in there, it's a code. You know, the offenders have their code. Us officers, we have our code. But at the end, we're trying to get home. These offenders, they have nothing to lose. You know, they don't. Trying to think what else. I mean, there's other videos, but the stuff that I saw. Oh yeah, that was another one. It was I was in the picket actually. L pod, I believe. So these were already G5s. So something happened. This offender was being put back into the house for something. So he's already in hand restraints. And I don't know how something happened where this they took the cuffs, and they were about to close the door, and I think this offender, he attacked. Like, he just like snapped and attacked, and all I remember seeing from the picket was the door being open, and that offender, you know, starts swinging, and boom, everybody goes in there. What happens in there? I don't know. I'm in the picket. But yeah, that was just like happened again, just like that. I think I was only part of a 5-man team once as an officer. From what I remember, I was 5-man, and I was wearing glasses still, so I was no good because, you know, I had to put the mask on, the helmet, so I couldn't see shit. I just knew, like, I gotta put the leg restraints. I just had to make sure that they were gonna be put the right way, and that was a cool experience too, because at that point, in a sense, free for all, in a sense, as long as it's justified. So it was just like, at that point, like, damn, like, oh shit, this is badass. This is how things get done on a 5-man team, like, badass. But of course, at the end, right, paperwork, witness statements. As an officer, if you're a part of the 5-man team, witness statement. If you're up in the picket, witness statement. But then as a supervisor, that's where it gets a little bit more complicated, you know, more or less. Not complicated, but more challenging, because now you got to make sure that all your officers, whoever responded, they get their paperwork turned in, and make sure you have to look through it, you know, make sure there's no corrections that need to be made, and make sure, right, of course, everything needs to, this is exactly what happened from beginning to end. No one wants to throw something in there that wasn't in there. Just gotta stick to facts. I'm trying to think what else. Going back to the very beginning, like the stress that I talk about as a supervisor, is like I said, you want to make sure, especially in general population, you want to make sure, the moves are done. You want to make sure they get the basic necessities, these offenders. You want to make sure that, your officers are safe, going home. You want to make sure that, as I said, right, like, all we have is our word. So if I say like, hey, what, I look into it, I gotta look into it. If I say no, I mean, that's what it is, right? But that's on me if I make that call. And sometimes I do have to turn the blind eye. But again, right, because it's to keep the peace. Because if I enforce it, that's just gonna create problems. Not just for me, but for my officers. And when I say turn the blind eye, I don't mean nothing bad, because I would still. I'll give you an example. Commissary, a bag load going from K-Pod to J-Pod. And the SSI, come on, man, like, we gotta let this happen. Because if not, shit's gonna pop off. Like, this will squash everything. And of course, like, well, before you do, put that in the office. I need to look through it, make sure everything's legit. Because that's something that we all look for in a prison. Money, drugs, phones, weapons. That's what we look for. So, I mean, there I am, searching. Like, oh, okay, cool, commissary, cool. Yeah, go ahead. That was my call to make, right? Was it right? Was it wrong? At the end, if it's going to keep the peace, But towards the end, like I said, I was going through a season. Towards the end, like, it just, things change, right? And when I say things change, I'm talking about, wardens come and go. I think the time that I was there, I went through about 3 different wardens, old ones, I should say. And, I mean, just the fact that, especially the last one, it's like you're coming from a medium level. This is maximum. Medium level is ran the way medium level is ran. Maximum is ran different. So us officers, like, okay, why are we turning on the TV for this G-Force? Their day room time is up already. Like, why? And I get it for game day. I get that, I do. But it's like, why are we, what's those kind of things, right? Like, and to me, like, and everyone else could agree, it's like, okay, well, if you want to be watching TV so much, get your behavior in check, so you can go to A side and watch the TV all damn day, as much as you want. And that was just one. Another, it was just, I mean, like I said, things were changing, like the way we were running stuff, especially on B side. And it's like, B side is B side for a reason. So it was like, I'm like, I think it's time for me to go. Trying to think what else. Man, if y'all are still here watching, man, I appreciate y'all. I feel like this is the second to last video, so I gotta make sure I get everything that I'm missing from all the other videos, right? Like, I don't think I even mentioned this. I mean, I mentioned the overtime. I mentioned the 4 on, 4 off. Sign up for overtime, so that way you work the days that you want to. Because if you don't sign up for overtime, they will cancel you. So if you have, or we have the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday off, and you don't sign up, 9 times out of 10, they're gonna cancel you, so you can work Saturday and Sunday. There goes your weekend. So it's always good to, sign up for your own, so that way you can at least work the days that you're okay with working. And as long as you do that, you know, as long as you do that, yeah, you'll work overtime and you'll do the days that you want to versus. And I had to learn the hard way too, because when I wasn't signing up, I was getting canceled on the days that I wanted to do stuff with my family, right? I'm trying to think what else. I think that's it, man. Like I mean, mm, this goes back to having that mental toughness, because the stuff that you see, if you've never seen blood before, that can happen. What we call a cutter, somebody wanting to cut. At that point, it's like, initiate the ICS, spray them so they can stop. And but if you've never seen that kind of blood before, it's like, what do you do? I remember responding to a call when I was an officer on B side, and it was too graphic. It was too graphic. And I froze up when I saw what I saw. I was like, damn. Like, it was, like I said, it was graphic. And I left, but that just, like, and you could tell even until now, like, like I can, like, take myself back to that moment, and it's just like, damn. And again, like, what the fuck? What do you do? How do you react? How do you? It's just like wow, like, that actually happened, like, and that opened up a whole can of worms, because it's like, who was the officer there on that pod? When was the last time the security check was made? So you can kind of see where I'm trying to get at with when I say it was graphic. But yeah, it was just like, so again, right, as I've said before, it takes a certain individual to work at a maximum prison or at a prison in general, because again, even though those offenders that are on good behavior, at any point in time, they snap, they'll react a certain way. I was grateful that, my concern, I'll be honest, my concern was getting shanked. My concern was talking to an offender, or not even, like, just, passing by, and then they just, they do what needs to get done, and, whether here or on my side, but that was always my fear, but I'm grateful that that didn't happen. And I think that'll be it for this one. I feel like I kind of went all over the place, and it's something that, when I say I miss, I mean, like, the brotherhood. Like, like, the fact of showing force. If there's an officer that's talking to an offender and you're walking by, just stop and just be there by the officer's side, and just, just show force. That's all it is. My favorite is when there's a section that's not wanting to rack up. That's my favorite. Like, hey, let's go out there, let's go take care of business. No questions asked. Like, we just show of force. We go in there, like, y'all get to the house, and if shit pops off, shit pops off. And when I say shit pops off, meaning, like, if they start swinging, okay, well, guess what? We're gonna hold our own too. But for the most part, like, it's just like, when they refusing to go to the house, especially on 8 building, like, the show of force, you have your 4 close custody, the rover, that's already 5, plus the sergeant, that's 6. Like, yeah, there's no fucking around now, right? Like, we're gonna take care of business. And And this other time, I thought about an incident, and it's crazy because I was signed up to work for overtime, but I called in that day because the night before my daughter told me, she's like, "Dad, can you take us to SeaWorld?" I'm like, you know what? Tomorrow's a great day. I'm like, let's go. So I called in sick, and the one time I do, there's like a 4 hour riot on the rec yard on B side, on A building especially. So I was just like, man, like they wouldn't stop. Like, and it was just, like, yeah, like that was just. I can't remember if they were the G4s or the G5s, but it was just, yeah. I got told the story that, like, when I went back, and like, man, you missed out. Like, we had a party over here. I'm like, really? But I remember being a desk officer. I remember, a fight breaking out in the rec yard, and it was just crazy. Like, I think one of them did get stabbed. So I remember the sergeants going in there, putting their life on the line, going in there to get that one offender that got stabbed, and just dragging him through the floor back inside the building. And that's what I'm talking about. It's like the stuff that we do. It's like we don't think. We just, we go. I always say this, and it's just my opinion. It's like, if you got a choice to be an officer out in the streets or being in the prison, I think in the prison, because I mean, being out here in the streets, there's too much video recordings, versus in the prison, it's only the eye in the sky, but either way, and nowadays, being out in the streets, nobody has respect for a police officer anymore because of stuff that's happened. Which that leads me to my last and final thing too. That's something that I didn't like, was when some of these officers, they abused their authority. And that wasn't right, because it's like, why would you do that? You're only going to create problems for yourself, and then you expect us to back you up, And that's something that you don't want to do, right? You don't want to, just because, oh man, no, treat everybody the same way. At the end, they're a human being. Yes, they made a mistake. Yes, they did a horrendous crime. But yeah, and it goes back to the prison riots back in the 70s. I mean, they're like, hey man, they still have rights. They're still a human being. They're still entitled to the basic necessities. And that's something that, it's true. That they do. They are entitled to a meal. They're entitled to a shower. They're entitled to hygiene. So I get all that. I do. But like I said, there's a code. There's a code from the offenders, and there's a code for us. And those that know the code, y'all know what I'm talking about. I think that'll be it, man. I think that'll be it for this video. Tomorrow is the last day, and I'm gonna, I'm gonna do my research. I can think of 2 that I know of, but I'm sure there's more. There's more out there that lost their lives, right? But man, if y'all are still here, I appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope y'all are well. I hope y'all are blessed, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. One more day.